Gunshots shattered the evening calm of Dust Hollow, Arizona. Four bodies sprawled across the saloon floor, blood seeping into weathered floorboards. The whiskey-soaked bounty hunters had turned on each other in drunken rage, their quarry momentarily forgotten. In the chaos, a woman with copper skin and coal-black hair crawled through the dirt and blood. Naya, widow of an Apache war chief, moved silently toward the saloon's rear door, her wrists raw from rope burns. Death had granted her this chance at freedom, and she wouldn't waste it. Outside, the desert night embraced her with its cooling breath. Stars pierced the darkness like spirit fires watching her escape. Naya pressed herself against the shadows of buildings, her heart thundering against her ribs. The town slept, unaware of the violence that had just erupted, or the desperate woman now moving through its streets. She spotted it then, a sturdy Appaloosa tied outside a small cabin at the edge of town. The horse stood tall and strong, perfect for the journey ahead. Survival meant theft, and Naya had made peace with that necessity. Her people were hidden in the Black Eagle Valley, a 3-day ride north. If she could reach them before sunrise gave her away, she might live to see another season. Approaching the horse, she whispered ancient Apache words to calm the animal. As her fingers reached for the reins, the cabin door creaked open. Naya froze, muscles tensed like a cornered mountain lion. A tall figure filled the doorway, moonlight glinting off the revolver in his hand. "Don't move, or the Undertaker gets more business tonight." The man's voice carried the weight of command, not the slur of threat. Colton Reed stepped into the yard, his weathered face half hidden in shadow. At 40, life had carved deep lines around his eyes, the mark of a man who'd seen too much death under the western sun. "I need the horse," Naya said, chin raised despite her fear. "Kill me or let me go." Colton studied her, recognition slowly dawning. "You're the Apache woman they brought in yesterday. Porter's bounty." "I am no one's bounty." The night air seemed to thicken between them. Colton's finger rested near the trigger, but something in his eyes spoke of hesitation. "You were in Tonto Basin last spring," he said finally, "when Porter ordered the raid on your village." Naya's eyes narrowed. "You were there." "A soldier with blue coat." "Lieutenant Colonel, 3rd Cavalry." Colton lowered his gun slightly. "I left the Army after that day." Thunder rumbled in the distance, though no clouds marred the star-filled sky. The desert sometimes carried sounds for miles, tricks of the wind and canyon walls. "Why?" Naya asked, her voice sharp as flint. "Because men like Porter don't deserve to command others." Colton holstered his weapon with deliberate slowness. "Come inside. Dawn's 4 hours away, and Porter's men will be looking for you by then." Instinct told Naya to run, but wisdom kept her feet planted. This man had been part of the raid that killed her husband, yet something in his manner spoke of change. Survival sometimes meant trusting the untrustworthy. Inside the cabin, Colton placed bread, dried meat, and water before her. He watched as she ate, her dignity intact despite her hunger. "I know where your people are hiding," he said finally. The food turned to ash in Naya's mouth. "You lie. Black Eagle Valley, the eastern canyon with the twin pinnacles." Colton's eyes remained steady. "I found it 2 months ago tracking Mustangs. Saw the smoke but kept my distance. Never told Porter." "Why tell me this now?" "Because Porter knows." Colton leaned forward. "Not the exact location, but he knows they're in the valley. He's gathering men for another raid, claiming Apache raids on settlers as justification. There have been no raids. Truth doesn't matter to Porter. He's running for territorial governor now. Needs to show he can handle the Indian problem." Colton's mouth twisted in disgust. "That's what they're calling your right to exist." Naya set down the cup, studying the man before her. "Why would you help me?" "I've spent a year trying to wash the blood off my hands," Colton said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Some stains don't come clean." Before she could respond, hoofbeats thundered outside. Colton moved to the window, cursing under his breath. Marcus Blackwood and his guns. Porter must have sent them when he heard about the saloon shooting. He grabbed his rifle from the wall rack. Back door, now. They slipped into the stable behind the cabin where Colton quickly saddled 2 horses. The night had grown deadly quiet, the kind of silence that precedes violence. When we ride out, head north along the creek bed, he instructed, checking his Winchester. It'll hide our tracks until morning. A voice called from the front yard. Reed, got some questions about an Indian woman. Come on out, nice and friendly like. Colton's jaw tightened. Marcus Blackwood, Porter's pet killer, ex-Confederate who never stopped fighting his war. He handed Naya the reins to his Appaloosa. When I start shooting, you ride. Don't look back. And you. I'll catch up. Or I won't. Colton slid a revolver into her hand. Either way, you'll need this more than me. The weight of the Colt felt strange yet comforting. Naya tucked it into her waistband. Colton kicked open the stable's rear door and fired 3 quick shots toward the front of the cabin. Men shouted, horses reared, and return fire splintered wood around them. Go! Colton yelled. Naya dug her heels into the horse's flanks. The animal lunged forward into the night as more gunfire erupted behind her. She bent low over the horse's neck, the cool desert air rushing past her face. 50 yards out, she pulled up sharply. Ahead, 2 riders materialized from the darkness, blocking her escape. Before she could turn, gunfire exploded from behind her. One rider jerked backward, toppling from his saddle. The second reached for his pistol, but never cleared leather. Colton's shot took him through the chest. Hooves pounded the earth as Colton galloped up beside her, blood streaming from a graze on his arm. Creek bed, he shouted, spurring his horse forward. Together they raced toward the northern horizon, leaving Dust Hollow and its violence behind. But Naya knew the truth. In this land, violence was never far behind. Dawn painted the desert in shades of blood and gold. Colton and Naya had ridden through the night, following the dry creek bed until it vanished into the unforgiving landscape. Now they crouched atop a rocky outcrop, studying their back trail through Colton's brass spyglass. Dust cloud, he said grimly. About 5 miles back. 5 riders, maybe 6. Naya's face remained impassive, though exhaustion pulled at her limbs. Marcus. And his dogs. Colton collapsed the spyglass with a sharp snap. They're tracking better than I hoped. Must have picked up our trail where we left the creek. The sun crawled higher, promising another day of merciless heat. Their water supplies were already half gone, the horses breathing hard from the night's exertion. Ahead lay 60 miles of the harshest terrain Arizona Territory had to offer, a gauntlet of sun-blasted rock, rattlesnake dens, and Apache Pass, where the mountains squeezed travelers through narrow defiles perfect for ambush. We can't outrun them, Colton said, eyes scanning the horizon. Not on tired horses. Then we fight. Naya's hand moved to the Colt at her waist. The faintest smile touched Colton's lips. First we learn. He pulled his Winchester from its scabbard. Ever fired one of these? By midday, the temperature had climbed past 100 degrees. They'd found shelter in a narrow box canyon with a small seep of water trickling from the rock face. While the horses drank and rested, Colton set up targets, empty tins on a flat rock. Breathe out when you pull the trigger, he instructed, watching as Naya sighted down the rifle barrel. Squeeze, don't jerk. The rifle cracked, and a tin can leapt from the rock. 4 more shots, 4 more cans dispatched with increasing precision. Your husband taught you well, Colton observed. My father, Naya corrected, before the bluecoats came, before the reservations. She handed the rifle back. My husband taught me to track and hunt, to move like the wind through enemy territory. Colton nodded. We'll need those skills. Marcus won't give up. He's got too much pride and Porter's paying too well. Why does Porter want my people dead? Naya asked bluntly. Colton checked his ammunition, his movements precise and practiced. It's never just about the land or the raids. There's always something more. He looked up, eyes narrowed against the sun. Silver, maybe. Or the railroad coming through. The horses suddenly pricked their ears, heads turning toward the canyon entrance. Colton motioned for silence, rifle already in hand. A stone clattered down the canyon wall. Behind the rocks, he whispered, moving toward a boulder. They barely reached cover before a shot rang out, bullets sparking off stone inches from Naya's head. Two more shots followed, echoing through the canyon. Thought you'd lost us, didn't you, Reed? Marcus Blackwood's voice bounced off the canyon walls. Porter sends his regards. Colton caught Naya's eye and motioned toward a narrow crevice in the canyon wall. She nodded, understanding. While he provided covering fire, she'd make for the escape route. Why throw in with Porter, Marcus? Colton called back. You used to have some principles. Principles don't pay. Colonel, more gunfire peppered their position. But Indian hunting sure does. Porter's offering $500 for the woman, dead or alive. Colton fired 3 measured shots, forcing Marcus and his men to duck behind cover. Ready? He mouthed to Naya. She nodded, tense to run. Colton suddenly stood, firing rapidly toward their attackers. Now! Naya sprinted for the crevice as bullets kicked up dust around her feet. She reached the opening and pressed through, scraping skin from her shoulders in the narrow passage. Behind her, gunfire continued to echo through the canyon. The crevice opened into a smaller canyon running perpendicular to the first. Naya found a defensible position and drew her pistol, ready to cover Colton's escape. Minutes stretched like hours before his large frame finally squeezed through the opening, blood streaming from a fresh wound on his thigh. Hit? She asked, already moving to help him. Grazed. He limped beside her. Their horses are picketed at the canyon mouth. If we circle around, we might... A lone figure appeared at the far end of the small canyon, rifle raised. Before either could react, a shot cracked through the hot air. Colton staggered, clutching his side. Naya fired twice, driving the attacker back. She grabbed Colton's arm, pulling him toward another cluster of boulders as more gunfire erupted around them. Bad? She asked, seeing the blood spreading across his shirt. Bad enough, he grunted, face pale beneath his tan. Can't run much further. Trapped between Marcus's men and the lone gunman, with Colton wounded, their options were vanishing like water in the desert. Naya peered around the boulder, assessing the terrain. 20 yards away, a narrow cleft might offer escape, but reaching it meant crossing open ground. Give me your rifle, she said. Colton handed over the Winchester without question. Naya checked the ammunition. 5 rounds left. When I start firing, run for that cleft, she instructed. Don't wait. You'll be exposed. I am Apache. The desert is my home, not my enemy. Her dark eyes held his. Run, Colton Reed. I will find you. Before he could argue, she rose to one knee and fired 3 rapid shots toward Marcus's position. Shouts and curses told her at least one had found its mark. As Colton hobbled toward the cleft, Naya fired her remaining rounds at the lone gunman, forcing him to retreat. Then she ran, zigzagging across the open ground as bullets kicked up dust around her. She reached the cleft seconds after Colton, pulling him deeper into the shadows as more gunfire echoed behind them. The narrow passage twisted through the rock like a snake, eventually opening onto a steep slope. They half ran, half slid down into a dry wash, putting precious distance between themselves and their pursuers. By sunset, they'd found another hiding place, a shallow cave formed by a massive boulder leaning against the canyon wall. Naya tore strips from her dress to bind Colton's wounds. The bullet had passed through his side, missing vital organs but leaving him weak from blood loss. Why did you come back for me? He asked as she worked. You could have escaped. Naya tied off the bandage with practiced hands. My people do not abandon those who fight beside them. The night wrapped around them, stars emerging like distant campfires in the vast black sky. Colton's breathing grew steady as he drifted into exhausted sleep. Naya kept watch, the Colt ready in her hand. She studied this white man who had risked everything to help her. His face in repose looked younger, the hard lines of experience softened by sleep. On his chest, visible through his torn shirt, an old scar caught her attention, a distinctive pattern she recognized instantly. The blood brother mark of the Apache. Naya's breath caught in her throat. Only warriors who had saved an Apache life and been accepted by the tribe received such a mark. She gently pulled the shirt aside to see the full pattern, confirming her suspicion. "My brother Dakota gave me that," Colton said softly, his eyes now open. "Before the war. Before everything changed." "Dakota died in the raid," Naya whispered. "My husband's brother." Colton shook his head slightly. "I never saw his body, never saw him fall." He grimaced as he shifted position. "That's why I tracked your people to Black Eagle Valley. I had to know." Hope, long buried, flickered in Naya's chest. "You think he lives?" "I think Porter lied about how many died that day." Colton's eyes held hers. "Just like he's lying now about why he wants your people gone." Morning brought the sound of distant horses. Marcus had picked up their trail again. Colton could barely stand, but insisted they move on. With Naya supporting much of his weight, they continued north, staying to rocky ground to minimize tracks. By midday, they captured one of Marcus's scouts who had ridden ahead, a nervous young man barely out of his teens. At gunpoint, he revealed Porter's true agenda. "Silver," the youth stammered, "biggest strike in the territory, right under that Apache camp. Porter's partnered with the railroad men. They're bringing in 50 armed miners next week." "When is Porter moving on Black Eagle Valley?" Colton demanded. "Tomorrow? Dawn." The young man swallowed hard. "He's got 20 men, including the sheriff's deputies." Colton and Naya exchanged grim looks. They were still a day's hard ride from the valley, too far to warn the tribe before Porter's attack. "Go back to Marcus," Colton told the scout. "Tell him you lost our trail heading west." After the scout departed, Naya questioned his decision to release the young man. "He'll lead them away from us," Colton explained, checking his weapons. "Give us time to reach your people." "If Dakota lives," Naya said quietly, "he will fight rather than run." Colton's expression hardened with resolve. "Then we'd better not be late." Black Eagle Valley lay bathed in the golden light of dawn, its twin pinnacles casting long shadows across the Apache encampment. Smoke rose from cooking fires as women prepared the morning meal and children fetched water from the stream that bisected the valley floor. From their vantage point on the eastern ridge, Colton and Naya surveyed the peaceful scene. They had ridden through the night, pushing their exhausted horses to the limit, arriving just as the sun breached the horizon. "No sign of Porter yet," Colton said, scanning the approaches with his spyglass. "But they'll come from the south, through the narrow pass." Naya's sharp eyes picked out movement among the teepees. "Warriors are already alert. They've posted lookouts." Before they could move toward the encampment, the unmistakable sound of a rifle hammer being cocked froze them in place. "Move and die, white man," came a voice from behind them. Colton raised his hand slowly. "I come with Naya, sister of Dakota. We bring warning of an attack." A tense silence followed. Then, "Turn around, slowly." They complied, finding themselves facing 3 Apache warriors, rifles aimed at their hearts. The leader stepped forward, his face weathered by sun and battle, a jagged scar running from temple to jaw. Recognition dawned in Naya's eyes. "Dakota?" The warrior stared, disbelief washing over his features. "Sister? We thought you dead." "The spirits had other plans," she replied, voice thick with emotion. Dakota's gaze shifted to Colton, narrowing with suspicion. Then his eyes found the scar visible at Colton's collar. "The cavalry officer," he said, "the one who warned us before the raid." Colton nodded once. "I couldn't stop it then. I'm here to stop the next one." Within minutes, they were hurrying toward the encampment, Dakota already shouting orders to prepare defenses. The tribe erupted into organized chaos. Warriors gathering weapons, women packing essential items, elders guiding children toward hiding places in the caves above the valley. In the center of the camp, Grey Wolf, the tribe's spiritual leader, waited. At 75, his body was bent with age, but his eyes burned with the wisdom of 7 decades on the frontier. "The silver beneath our feet brings the white man's greed," he said after hearing their warning, "as I foresaw." "You knew about the silver?" Colton asked. Grey Wolf nodded solemnly. "Our ancestors called it blood of the earth. They buried the signs, covered the veins, warned that it would bring death to those who disturbed it." His gaze swept the valley. "Now Porter comes to fulfill that prophecy." Dakota joined them, war paint already adorning his face. "We have 42 warriors, most with rifles. The women can fight if needed." "Porter has 20 men, all armed," Colton said. "They'll expect to surprise you, not find you ready." For the next hour they prepared. Colton, drawing on his military experience, helped position warriors at strategic points along the valley walls. Naya worked with the women, establishing fallback positions and escape routes for the children. As the sun climbed higher, a young scout raced into camp, breathless with news. "White men have captured our hunting party," he gasped. 5 braves near the South Pass. Their leader says he will kill them unless we surrender the valley by midday." Dakota's face hardened. "Porter seeks to divide our strength." Colton studied the crude map they'd drawn in the dirt. "He knows we'd try to rescue them. It's a trap to weaken your defenses here." "Trap or not, they are our brothers," Dakota said firmly. Grey Wolf raised his hand for silence. "There is another way." His ancient eyes found Colton. "A small party might free them while the main force remains here." The plan came together quickly. Colton, Naya, and Dakota would lead a rescue mission while the tribe prepared an ambush for Porter's main force. If all went well, they would free the captives and return before Porter launched his primary attack. As they prepared to depart, Grey Wolf approached Colton with a small leather pouch. "You wear our mark," the old man said. "Now carry our medicine." He pressed the pouch into Colton's hand. "The spirits of this valley watch you, blue coat who walks a red path." The South Pass lay 5 miles from the encampment, a natural choke point where the valley walls squeezed together, creating a corridor barely wide enough for 3 riders abreast. Porter had chosen his position well. From the ridge above, Colton counted 8 men guarding 5 bound Apache captives. "Too many for a direct assault," he whispered to Dakota. "We need a diversion." Naya pointed to a stack of blasting powder kegs near the miners' temporary camp. "Porter brings his own destruction." The plan was dangerous but simple. Dakota would circle behind the camp, while Naya and Colton created a diversion at the powder kegs. In the confusion, they would free the captives. As Dakota slipped away, Colton turned to Naya. "If this goes wrong—" "It will not go wrong," she interrupted, her expression fierce. "The spirits of my ancestors ride with us today." Colton nodded, finding strength in her certainty. "Then let's introduce Porter's men to those spirits." They worked their way down the ridge, using scrub brush for cover. When they were within 50 yards of the camp, Colton took aim at the powder kegs with his Winchester. One shot would trigger enough force to create chaos without causing a rock slide that might harm the captives. Just as he was about to fire, a voice rang out. "I wouldn't do that, Colonel Reed." Marcus Blackwood stepped from behind a boulder, pistol trained on them. 2 more gunmen appeared, weapons ready. "Porter figured you might try something heroic," Marcus said with a cold smile. "Been waiting for you." Colton slowly lowered his rifle. This isn't about Indians anymore, is it, Marcus? It's about silver. It's about progress, civilization. Marcus gestured with his gun. Drop your weapons, both of you. Naya's hand moved to her knife, but Colton gave a subtle shake of his head. Not yet. Porter won't share the wealth, you know, Colton said conversationally, buying time. Men like him use men like us, then discard us. A flicker of doubt crossed Marcus's face, quickly replaced by hardened resolve. Move! Now! They were marched into the camp at gunpoint, where Porter himself waited. Dressed in a fine Eastern suit despite the frontier setting, Porter looked more politician than soldier now, though the cavalry saber at his side reminded all of his military past. Colonel Reed, Porter said, his refined voice at odds with the wilderness around them. Still trying to ease your conscience by playing savior to the savages? Better than selling my soul for silver, James. Porter laughed. Soul? We're talking about progress, man. A railroad through this territory. Mines bringing wealth to thousands. What's a few displaced Indians against such advancement? Displaced? Colton's voice hardened. You mean massacred? Porter waved a dismissive hand. Unfortunate collateral damage. History will remember us as pioneers, not butchers. His cold eyes shifted to Naya. Though I must thank you for returning my property, the bounty on her alone will pay for a fine dinner in Tucson. Before Colton could respond, war cries split the air. Arrows rained down from the ridge as Dakota and his warriors launched their attack. In the chaos, Naya drove her elbow into her captor's stomach, twisting free and drawing his own knife from his belt. Colton lunged for Marcus, knocking the gun from his hand. They fell to the ground, trading vicious blows. Around them, the camp erupted into gunfire and hand-to-hand combat. Porter shouted for his men to form a defensive line, but the Apache attack had caught them too dispersed. Dakota led his warriors directly to the captives, cutting their bonds while covering fire from the ridge forced Porter's men to seek shelter. Colton and Marcus rolled in the dirt, each fighting for advantage. Marcus was younger, but Colton fought with the desperation of a man whose redemption hung in the balance. He landed a solid punch that sent Marcus sprawling near the powder kegs. Seeing his men falling back, Porter made a decision. He grabbed a torch from the campfire and ran toward the powder, shouting, "If I can't have the valley, no one will." Naya saw his intent and threw her knife with deadly accuracy. It buried itself in Porter's shoulder, sending the torch flying from his hand. But the flame had already caught a stray trail of powder. "Take cover!" Colton yelled, diving toward Naya as the world erupted in fire and thunder. The explosion sent rocks and debris flying in all directions. When the dust settled, half the pass was blocked by a rock slide. Porter lay pinned beneath a boulder, alive but trapped. Marcus Blackwood was nowhere to be seen. Dakota approached, supporting one of the freed captives. "The other white men flee," he reported. "This one says Porter planned to attack our camp within the hour." Colton nodded grimly. "We need to get back. Now." They left Porter to his fate, racing back toward the main encampment. As they crested the final ridge, they saw Porter's remaining force, 12 men strong, already engaging the Apache defenders. Gunfire echoed through the valley as warriors used the natural terrain for cover, picking off attackers one by one. Dakota signaled his men to spread out along the ridge. "We attack from behind. No mercy." The battle was brutal but brief. Caught between defenders in the valley and attackers on the ridge, Porter's men soon surrendered or fled. By sunset, Black Eagle Valley belonged to the Apache once more, but all knew their victory was temporary. "More will come," Gray Wolf said as the tribe gathered that evening. "The white man's hunger for the blood of the earth knows no bounds." "Then we move north," Dakota decided, "to the high country beyond the white man's maps." Naya found Colton sitting alone by the stream, cleaning his wounds. "My brother says you will come with us," she said, settling beside him. Is that what you want? Colton asked, his eyes meeting hers. What I want? Naya paused, choosing her words carefully. I want peace for my people. I want to stop running. That day will come, Colton promised. But first, I have business in Dust Hollow. He looked toward the valley where the tribe prepared for their journey north. Porter's allies still control the town. Someone needs to ensure justice is done. Naya nodded slowly. And then? Then I'll find you. Colton's hand covered hers, calloused skin against smooth. If you'll have me. The path you walk is dangerous, she warned. A smile touched his lips, genuine for the first time since she'd met him. I wear your tribe's mark, remember? The spirits watch over me. At dawn, the Apache tribe began their journey north, toward distant mountains and the promise of safety. Colton Reed watched them go, Naya's final words echoing in his mind. North Star Ridge, when the snow touches the peaks. I will wait for you. He turned his horse south, toward Dust Hollow and the reckoning that awaited. Justice had many forms on the frontier. Sometimes it came from the law, sometimes from the barrel of a gun, and sometimes, just sometimes, it came from a man determined to right the wrongs of his past. As he rode, a dust cloud appeared on the eastern horizon, riders approaching Dust Hollow. At their head, a well-dressed man whose bearing suggested both wealth and ruthlessness. Porter's brother had arrived from the east. The frontier's justice would have to wait a little longer.